Thank you all so very much. In 1974, when I joined the United States Air Force, women who wanted to serve their nation as members of the armed services were required to surrender their children for permanent placement and adoption before they could come on active duty. If they got pregnant, the women were fired. The Air Force called this firing a discharge for reasons of pregnancy, but either way, you were unemployed. I am pleased to say that the landscape for women in the armed forces has improved. For example, on June 23, 2008, the United States Army announced proudly that it had just nominated the first female four-star general, and she was recently confirmed. Just to make it clear, in 2008, for the very first time, we have a woman in the most senior leadership position in our military services. The Army also has the only woman currently serving in the legal profession who holds the grade of Brigadier General. But in my service branch, the Air Force, there are presently no women who serve as general officers in the Judge Advocate General Corps. There are as many excuses for that as there are qualified women available to step into that role. It is, however, better than in 1974 and better than in 2004 when I retired, when there were very few colonels and virtually no women available in senior leadership to serve as mentors for women and men, and to demonstrate every day the value of diversity in our armed forces. But in the few moments I have today, upon receiving this incredible honor, I want to spend some time talking about some other women whose service you won't hear about unless I speak of them. I want to introduce you to a woman I met when I entered basic training in 1974. Her name was Nancy. My motives in enlisting in the Air Force were not entirely pure, as I was looking for a way to pay for my college education because I came from a family that did not have enough money to send its 4 children to college, and like most families of that day, elected to send their sons and not their daughters. I'm here to say that I'm very proud to be here today with my sister Bonnie, who also put herself through college, and both of us graduated and both of my brothers quit. Nancy, on the other hand, was a desperate single mother of 3. She had training as a nurse, but not an RN degree, and she had 3 kids who needed health care and who needed to be able to eat. To ensure that her children were taken care of, Nancy did what her country demanded her to do, and she allowed her parents to adopt her 3 children so that she, like me, could earn $344.10 per month as an Airman Basic. She, like many women, thought that once the rules were changed, her mother would give her kids back. You see, we knew the rules were going to change because, after all, it was 1974, and the barbaric requirement of having to surrender your children could not possibly continue to be the policy of a nation that was looking to transition to an all-volunteer force. Well, the rules did change in 1976 as the result of the efforts of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and a handful of dedicated lawyers at the ACLU who took cases like Frontiero versus Richardson and the case of Susan Strunk, and dedicated lawyers like Tommy Sue Smith. But Nancy was mistaken when she thought her parents would give her children back once she could have custody restored to her. Nancy's parents fought to keep her kids and won in court. Despite the changes which enabled women to keep their children, the military world was slow to adapt to the addition of women to its workforce. And I can still recall with clarity, having been told that my application to go to law school in 1976, under a fantastic program called the Funded Legal Education Program, would have been more competitive if only I had graduated from the Air Force Academy. When I reminded the general officer who told me this that women were not eligible to attend the Air Force Academy, he responded, "Well, there is that." As the result of that, I made the decision to commute 200 miles a night, 4 nights a week, after work, to attend the Loyola University New Orleans night law program, because how could anyone say that that did not demonstrate clear commitment? And that's how I got my first year of law school. I want to remember here at this incredibly wonderful moment in my life, Lori Baestiwa. You may recall, or you may have forgotten Lori, but you know her. She was born of a Hopi father and a mother of Mexican ancestry, and she was born in Tuba City, Arizona. When she became the first Native American woman to be killed in combat while serving in the armed forces in 2003 in Iraq, she left 2 kids without a mother. She died in the same event which the nation learned of through the gripping story of Jessica Lynch's capture and rescue. Like my friend Nancy, friends of Lori Baestiwa say she joined the Army to provide a secure income for her 2 children. I accept this award today with those women, military women of incredible courage, like Colonel Sharon Schaefer and Lieutenant Colonel Yvonne Bradley, who currently serve their nation by defending the rule of law, fighting in defense of individuals held or charged in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And I would also like to remember at this time 2 of my close friends from the Air Force, each of whom died at the age of 46 of cancer, Lieutenant Colonel Katie Kennedy and Lieutenant Colonel Connie Law. I wish you could have known Katie. If there was ever a woman who should have been a Margaret Brent Award winner, it was she. I stand here today with the hundreds of women who made it possible for me to succeed in my Air Force career, enlisted, civilian, and fellow officers, and I stand here today with a few good men who were enlightened enough to realize that women and men were just different, not unequal. I stand here today especially because of my good friend, Colonel Gail Silverman. Every good thing I have done in my life since 1981 has been a dividend on her friendship extended to me at one of the darkest moments of my life. She and her husband Lenny came today to be with me, and I thank them for their friendship and support. I stand here because of Colonel Roger Drew, whose generous gift of his time and talent resulted in this nomination, and because of Colonel Wade Pittman, whose friendship led me to the fulfillment of a childhood dream that I had, that one day I would work in the United Nations. I stand here because of the support of good friends and family, many of whom I am fortunate to have with me here today. I thank them for traveling so far, and many of them, I know, are as amazed as I am that I am here on this stage today. I stand here because of former Brent Award winners and current Brent Award winners like Drew Ramey and Judge Berg, and my friends in the National Association of Women Judges, the Ohio State Bar Association, the Kentucky Bar Association, my good friends in the National Conference of Specialized Court Judges, my friends in the National Conference of Administrative Law Judges, the federal trial judges, the state trial judges, the appellate judges, and the Lawyers Conference, and of course the Judicial Division, my friends and colleagues in the government and public sector, criminal law, and state and local government sections. Yes, the ABA's got a dividend from me, you bet. And I stand here, of course, because of the Commission on the Women in the Profession, whom I thank today for their very kind honor bestowed on me. Most importantly, I also stand here today in awe of my daughters, Rachel Manuel and Christina Veillon, who taught me everything I know about courage and whose sacrifices are more numerous than I can list here. They paid an incredible price for having had a mother who was in the military, perhaps too early in its history, and they know better than anyone in this room that I was often not so good at the most important role in my life, that of being there as your mom. I stand here today in gratitude to my sister Bonnie, who has dedicated 18 years of her life to teaching children in U.S. schools whose primary language is not English, a daily act of commitment to these children whose lives she touches forever. I stand here with my brother Ken, whose work with the Space Shuttle program gives us hope for the future, and my brother Jerry, who served as my first inspiration to become a lawyer. We all went through a lot as kids, but we all turned out okay. And gratefully, I share this moment with my best friend and my husband, Kevin. I am reminded regularly by my friends and relatives that I am the most fortunate of women, having a husband who will go with me to places that most spouses would never go, often with high risks associated with them. After having had to relocate some 11 times to follow my dreams with me, I hope he surely knows that he is my rock and my strength, who makes it possible for me to be more than I could ever be on my own. As we say in the military, he is my force multiplier. I have chosen a unique path by deciding to say yes to unusual and challenging opportunities. Perhaps, as some have suggested, I am here today because I just never learned to say, "Gosh, that sounds dangerous, I don't think so." But my life has been incredibly enriched by the people I have met, the experiences I have had, and the incredible privilege I have had to be engaged in the pursuit of peace in my work in the military, my work in the Commission on Human Rights, and my work at the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. I would like to close with something any of you can see if you ever take the time to visit the Women in Military Service Memorial in America, which is at the foot of Arlington Cemetery. There are words etched in the ceiling, originally penned by Major Rhonda Coram of the U.S. Army, who was a surgeon, a soldier, and a prisoner of war in the First Gulf War. Major Coram's words are inspiration for us all, regardless of our chosen career, and they are watchwords for my life. The qualities that are most important to all military jobs, things like integrity, moral courage, and determination, have nothing to do with gender. I thank the Commission on Women in the Profession and the American Bar Association for this incredible honor. Thank you.